These entities, which are influenced in a manner said to be good or evil, are infinite in number and compose the universe. That is, the universe is composed of an infinite number of entities and groups of entities. They are all interacting and interdependent. Everything, great and small, near and distant, has some influence, powerful or weak, upon every other thing in the universe. Whether the influence exerted by one thing upon another is good or evil depends upon the mutual harmony or mutual discord. Better to understand the influence of things upon each other, we should bear in mind not only that the law of gravitation is active between all objects in the universe, but that modern science demonstrates that all things radiate energy. Radium is the classical example of such radiation, but in a like manner, though much less pronounced, all substance is sending forth vibratory waves that can be detected at considerable distance by delicate scientific instruments. Aside from the controversy of the part the subject plays in diagnosing by the electronic reactions of Abrams, the Abrams method demonstrates conclusively that everything has a vibration to which it is keyed, and that these vibrations are radiated and can be detected at a distance. A number of experimenters have made marked improvements upon the original Abrams method and have produced machines of great delicacy and accuracy in intercepting and interpreting the vibratory rates that all things radiate. Were it not for energy radiated by objects and persons, which in some manner leaves an impress upon all things coming close to them, it seems unlikely that psychometry would be possible. Even sight depends not upon the vibrations radiated by objects, but upon vibrations reflected from them. Such vibrations have an influence upon the human eye, different objects having a different influence. This difference in influence is due to diversity, both in intensity and in form. This leads to a very important consideration. For the intensity of influence tends to increase with the proximity of the object radiating it. It is true that things having the same vibratory rate that chance to vibrate synchronously, that is, the crest of the wave of one set of vibrations coinciding in time with the crest of the wave of the other set, are capable of influencing each other at great distances. An individual changing their rate of vibration by raising or lowering it through the alteration of mood can illustrate this principle. In this manner, the individual can get in rapport with people or things exceedingly remote, and having tuned in on their vibrations, these may have greater influence upon the individual than other things with as great vibratory intensity close at hand. But aside from this factor of rapport, the vibratory rates of things close at hand have a greater influence than the vibratory rates of similar things more distant. Likewise, even when rapport is established, a weaker vibration close at hand has as much influence as a stronger one radiated at a greater distance. To make practical application of this simply means the recognition that the individual is more influenced by the vibratory rates of things in their immediate environment than by those of somewhat similar nature more remote. The manner in which the individual is thus influenced by the objects in their immediate environment is easily understood as soon as the general organization and makeup of their astral body and its relation to the physical body are known. The astral body, which is the mold of the physical body, is composed of astral substance organized by states of consciousness. The original planetary family, state of celestial life, and degree of emanation of a soul endow it with certain attractive and repulsive qualities. In the course of its involution to the mineral state and its evolution from the mineral state to man, these attractive and repulsive qualities attract it to incarnate in a great number of forms, in which it has a wide variety of experiences. Each experience affects the consciousness and is recorded as a mode of motion in the astral body. Thus, the total experiences of a soul in its pilgrimage are recorded in the astral body. Through the law of affinity, these energies within the astral body tend to unite where there is likeness and tend to segregate where there is unlikeness. Thus, definite centers of energy are formed, each corresponding in its general vibratory rate to planetary influences, and other more general areas of the astral body are organized having vibrations corresponding to the zodiacal signs. Birth into human form, then, does not take place until the positions of the planets and signs, within certain limits, correspond to the vibratory organization of the astral body of the child to be born. At birth, the centers of energy already formed in the past through states of consciousness accompanying experiences are but intensified and given greater fixity. A person's character, as all must admit, is the sum total of all their past and present mental states. That is, they are the sum total of the states of consciousness organized as centers of energy within their astral form. These centers of energy are the mental factors both of the objective and the unconscious mind which determine the person's conduct. As the positions of the planets in the birth chart map these centers of energy, they constitute an accurate map of the character. This map indicates with great accuracy, as shown by planetary positions, the general types of experience of the soul in its past. It indicates, by prominence of the planets, the amount of the acquaintance the soul has had with experiences of each of the general types. It shows, by the aspects between the planets, the extent to which experiences of one type have been associated in the past with experiences of other types, and the extent to which these associations were harmonious or discordant. Furthermore, as the kind and amount of experiences attracted depend upon the original polarity of the soul when it started on its cyclic pilgrimage, if the map can be rightly interpreted, it should show the original signature of the soul, that is, the planetary family, the state of celestial life, and the degree of emanation to which it belongs. In its practical application, however, I believe great caution should be used in making positive assertions as to this, because the soul in incarnating has a fairly wide margin of vibratory rates which incarnation is possible. That is, even as we must allow orbs of influence when considering aspects, so we must allow orbs of influence when considering the relation of the origin of the soul to the positions of the planets at birth. Thus, a soul having its origin in the fiery state would tend when born in human form to have the sun in the birth chart in a fiery sign. But we may suppose in certain cases, instead of the sun being in a fiery sign, that there would be several other planets in fiery signs, and these planets strong in the birth chart. A soul belonging to a certain planetary family would certainly have this planet usually prominent in the birth chart, and usually it would readily be picked as the most powerful planet in the chart and consequently as the ruling planet. But we may suppose in a certain chart that while this planet is very powerful, that there are other planets that seem quite as powerful, one of which might mistakenly be chosen as the true ruler of the chart. The experiences of a soul since its differentiation have been adding energies to its finer forms, and furthermore, the varied and unique requirements in the development of some souls to fit them for their work in the cosmic scheme of things is such as often to obscure the original equipment with which they started on their great cyclic journey. We are quite justified in saying of a person in whose chart Jupiter is the dominant planet that the individual belongs to the planetary family of Jupiter. At the same time, due to the limitations that govern incarnation, if another planet, or more than one other planet, seems almost as strong, we cannot be positive that the soul did not have its origin in the family of this other planet. If the sun in a person's chart is in the sign Sagittarius, we are quite justified in saying the individual belongs to the fiery state of life and the third degree of emanation. But if at the same time the moon, for instance, is rising in the sign Taurus, it might make it difficult to tell whether the soul had its origin in the fiery state, third degree, or in the earthy state in first degree of emanation, ruled by Taurus. This uncertainty, which occasionally may arise, need not seem discouraging, for in every known science, including physics, chemistry, and mathematics, we meet with problems no less disconcerting. Yet, while the birth chart may not in our present state of knowledge tell us all about the parentage of the soul and its original environment in every instance, it does indicate infallibly the intensity, the kind, and the interrelations of the mental factors which comprise the character and determine the fortune. It is these centers of energy within the astral form that give ability and that attract to the person the various events of their life. By the law of affinity, like attracts like, and whatever vibrations and qualities reside, or are stimulated into activity, in the astral form attract corresponding conditions in the environment. A discordant vibratory center which in the past has been formed in association with procuring food and shelter will attract an environment that will make the procuring of these things that is, the acquisition of wealth, most difficult. Such a center of energy would be indicated by Saturn afflicted in the second house of the birth chart. Harmonious centers of energy, as shown by the birth chart, are actual forces within the astral body that attract an environment favorable to the department of life with which the center is shown to be associated. Thus, fortune and misfortune, opportunity and lack of it, success and failure are the results of centers of energy in the astral form, which are infallibly shown in the birth chart. The birth chart gives the astrological signature in all its details. It follows from these considerations that any modification of the centers of energy in the astral form make a corresponding change in the fortune. To the extent, then, that an individual can intelligently change the centers of energy within their astral form, is one the master of their own destiny and free from blind fatality. These centers of energy with which one is born that are mapped by the birth chart are actually changed by three distinct factors. As the planets move forward in the zodiac after a child's birth, they make new aspects to their original positions in the birth chart and new aspects among themselves. These aspects thus formed store up energy that later is released by the cyclic motion of the heavens. These progressed positions of the planets, as they are called, stimulate and release energies in the astral form in directions and at times shown by the progressed aspects. Such releases of energy can be modified by the other factors to be considered, and their influence controlled by the selection of an environment suitable to their working out as indicated or in which they cannot work out as indicated. One factor, then, that changes the centers of energy in the astral body is the influence of the planets. Another factor that changes the centers of energy within the astral body is the factor that originally organized them. That is, states of consciousness or thought. How thought may be used to reconstruct the astral body and thus bring about any desired change of fortune is explained in another course. The third factor, and the one with which we here are more concerned, is the power of the objects in the environment to stimulate and modify by their radiations the centers of energy within the astral body and thus affect the life and destiny.